What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to what is going to be a video about how to take care, fix, and even improve action figures. So stick around, this may be useful for you. Alright, so we have a lot of things going on here. I'm going to start with what you're going to be needing for this particular video. So you're going to need some gloves, obviously, some kind of towel, some paint pens, some aluminum foil, some game color black wash. You're going to need a brush, an eraser, at least some kind of a plier system, some thumbtacks, and obviously something to place your figures on. I have some cardboard here, so that's what I'm using. And obviously you're going to need some stuff to work on. So what I'm going to be doing today, these two figures right here are extremely dirty, been played with very, very well, been outside, all that kind of stuff. These are kids' toys, and they have been treated as such. So we have Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in the Micro Galaxy collection. And these two figures here in the middle, one is obviously broken. We have Starkiller with a broken head that completely broke off inside of the head itself and is really shiny. So what happened here is this was in my early days of customizing. I completely coated Starkiller in matte finish, and he became completely stuck and completely shiny. The matte finish did not turn out well. So we're going to be fixing that with some thumbtacks, and we're going to be fixing that shininess with some game color. So as an example, I bought General Grievous here, and if you have a General Grievous or want to look at General Grievous fresh out of the box, make sure and go back and check the unboxing I did. So with that game wash, all I did was just give a little bit of a blackness to the whole coat. So I went ahead and brushed the whole figure and, you know, just gently rubbed it off, and it just left a beautiful black finish to all of the figure. Took most of the shininess away. I mean, obviously it's made of metal, so you're going to want some. And we have the freezing chamber to the carbon freezing chamber set brought to you by Hasbro. That was put out by Hasbro, definitely not brought to you by. But this is just a regular gray. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a little bit of color to some of these pipes here. And you can do that very easily with a pen. And what is not shown here is some alcohol, because obviously anything that you're going to be painting, you're going to want to rub down in alcohol first. But for the figure's sake, you're not going to be rubbing down dirty figures in alcohol, because it will take the paint off, especially if it's a really strong alcohol. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to be fixing Starkiller's head. So I went ahead, how this happened was it got really sticky, and as I said, it just, when I was turning it, it snapped off. So unfortunately, it is completely stuck in there. So you could probably dig that out, you know, kind of smooth that out and stick it on there like that. But I'm going to just use this as a base. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be removing the end of this thumbtack here with these pliers. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to be sticking that in the end of the neck there. And then I'm going to be shoving it down on top of the pin itself. And it should sit like that and still give the turning. But as far as going up and down, probably going to lose that. That's okay. You'll still have a functional Starkiller figure. Let's go ahead and start this process. So before I get started, if you're underage, make sure and consult a parent before you do this. You are using sharp things, so make sure and get an adult before you do this process. Okay, so all I did there was take those sharp ends there and just kind of snip that piece of the thumbtack off, and you're left with a really sharp piece of metal there that you can stick in the neck. So, and if you want to actually help this along a little bit, you're going to actually bring a lighter up, spark that up, and kind of heat that end up a little bit. That'll actually help it go into the plastic quite a bit better. So once everything's good and hot, you just take that end and place it onto the what you can best guess as center. Keep it pressed in, and just keep going until it's completely submerged into the neck. So once it's in there a little bit, take the flat part of those pliers, and you can just kind of start pressing it on there, keeping it straight. You definitely don't want to have any bands on there. So just see how it just kind of slides in there after a minute. You definitely want to leave enough for the head of the other side there to be stuck in. Let's go ahead and finish it up. Okay, so by now this is probably really cooled off, and you're definitely not going to want to bring any kind of flame close to this. You're going to risk melting the neck even further. So this is going to actually take a little bit of finagling. So what you're just going to place the head on there and just give some gentle twists and just kind of start a little hole to where you would think the head would go. So we're just going to go right there. Just going to give a couple little twists, give it a little bit of pressure, and we can kind of see where it made an indentation of a hole there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the end of a screw or another thumbtack, just a very sharp object, and poke just a little hole in there. Don't stick the whole thing in there, but just make a little hole just like that. Okay, so once you've made your little pilot hole there, you're just going to stick that end in. Make sure it goes in and give some little twists, just like that. Make sure you don't push it into the neck any further than it already is. And so with a little bit of twisting, make sure you hold it in there just like that. And then you'll have a starkiller whose head won't come off, and you can turn it to the side. So you're not going to want to make sure and be very gentle with this when you're posing it up. Obviously, you're not going to give this back to any child or anything because they're going to rip it right back off because it's just kind of hanging on there. But you do have a little bit of up and down motion, not a whole lot, but the side to side motion is definitely returned, and it looks halfway decent anyway. It's just kind of sitting on there, and it's not glued on there, so it's not going to melt any of the paint, anything like that. Now, on to the shiny part. All right, so now we still have this huge issue of the really shiny starkiller from my very amateur mistake of trying to mat this figure out. So what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to add what is called a black wash, or they call it a game wash. So this one is made by Vallejo, I believe that's how you say it. So it's just a simple shake it up. So instead of using a ball, that you're going to have to wash out and whoever you're living with is going to complain about you using it. So just go ahead and take some aluminum foil and just put a little bit in there. So you're not going to need much, just about 3, 4, maybe 5 drops. And that's all you're going to probably need for the whole figure. Put that cap on there and set that aside. So you're going to take your brush, you're going to take your figure. Oh, I went ahead and popped the head off there, so I guess it really wasn't on there as good as I thought it was. But good thing about that is it can be easily put back on. So for this process, we're going to just take the brush, dip it in there, and you're going to take your figure and gently pat that excess off there and just give it a little bit of wash. So it's called a wash because it's a lot thinner than actual paint. So you're just going to want to be careful, but you can be as liberal as you really want to be with this. It's all up to you. I definitely wouldn't put too much on this. As you can see, I am just barely putting a little bit on there. So the way I do it for this kind of application, where I'm not doing it for a specific joint or anything like that, I'm just doing it to remove shininess. I'm going to go ahead and coat the whole figure. So that's why I wear gloves, because you're going to be moving this all around your hands, and you're definitely not going to want to get that on your hands, so it turns your hands halfway black and all that kind of stuff. There we go. So just pat that out and just keep on applying that coat. Okay, so once you have that on there, you're just going to take that rag or napkin and just start rubbing down. So for this point, we're just probably going to remove the head so we can go ahead and work that black wash in. So you're just going to want to take it and just gently rub it around. Just give it a little bit of time to dry. Make sure it doesn't, completely sit in one place or the other. See how it's kind of pooling up in the eye there. So you just want to take that rag or towel or cloth, whatever it is. Make sure it doesn't leave a lot of residue behind while you're rubbing, and just kind of give it a little rub. Make sure it doesn't pool up all around in any particular spot. And you're going to want to do the same thing for the body, just taking that cloth and just rubbing all over where you applied the wash. And as you can see, it starts bringing out the edges very nicely on the clothing. So the reason that we have the eraser handy is for things like that. See how it rubbed up on the neck a little bit too much there? So we're just gonna keep rubbing that down And keep rubbing and rubbing. And then if we find spots that just don't want to come off, we use the eraser. And that really removes the spots. But we're looking to just add a complete matted out finish here that adds accents to different spots. As you can see how it leaves a little bit of black on the back there. We're not completely trying to black the figure out. We're trying to just add accent to the clothing to make it look used, make it look mission used, you know, battle ready, all that kind of stuff. And for the skin and stuff, it just brings out tone and stuff like that. As you can see, you know, we're kind of working that out of there. You're going to definitely have to rub it a minute. It takes just a little bit of time to, you know, flatten those blacks out and remove any kind of excess that is just hanging out in the different pools that figures just naturally have. Alright, so there is Starkiller matted out. As you can see, I mean, he's under really heavy light here, so there's going to be a lot of shininess. He's under a lot of direct heavy light. But as you can see, it brought out a lot of the dirtiness in the clothing there and brought him down very nicely. Very much matted him out like I want. As you can see, it brought out the darkness around his eyes, so he looks very much Sithy. There is some staining around where the blue clothing is, which would obviously happen because it would be cloth underneath it there. And we turn him around, and the back armor is obviously a little dirty as well. The hair isn't quite as shiny, and the gloves look absolutely magnificent. So not only did we fix the head, but we also improved a figure that was quite literally unphotographable. Okay, so when we're talking about cleaning up old dirty figures, we have Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader here. So Darth Vader is definitely going to prove the one that's going to be a little bit more complicated and may have to remove the head and cape there as such. But all we're going to do here, you're not going to want to really resort to a lot of heavy chemicals, alcohol, and all that kind of stuff. They probably make some fancy action figure sprays and cleaners, but all you really need is some warm water and a rag or cloth like this. So we're going to start out with Luke Skywalker, being he is going to be the easiest one to clean. So as you can see, left outside, played with in the dirt, all kinds of stuff. He's one of my earlier figures that I've had him for quite a while. Same with the Darth Vader. They were both very, very early in the collection, so I gave them up to the younger ones, and they've been played with ever since. Very nice. So here we have Darth Vader, very very dirty, but we're going to go ahead and clean them up. And as I said, all you're going to need is a little bit of warm water. All right, so just want to take a little portion of that rag and dip it into that water like so. You're not going to want to overdo it because you're not going to want to saturate them in water because you just have a watery mess. You're going to want to take the figure and just start scrubbing like that. So the warm water will do most of the work. You don't need any fancy cleaners because all it is dirt and stuff like that, grime that's been outside. And if it has something that's filthy on it, obviously you're going to want to put a little bit of antibacterial, not a whole lot, because it will take the paint off. So as you can see, Luke Skywalker is getting a little touched up here, getting a little bath in the back of the tank, cleaned up, all that good stuff. So just going to want to not break his head off, but actually be very gentle when you're cleaning, but you're going to want to be aggressive as well. So just going to want to hold from both sides and give a good scrub. All right, so as you can see, warm water is all you need to clean action figures up. Let's go ahead and get Darth Vader cleaned up. So we'll start with his cape. Just get all up in those crevices there like that. Make sure we can get up all up underneath the shoulders. That's where dirt really likes to get, sit, and live. Fester all kinds of good stuff, I'm sure. So get that outside very well. Make sure you hit that bottom where it's been dragging across the dirt. And just keep scrubbing it down like so. And where you're not using any kind of harsh chemicals, the drying time is relatively short. And as you can see, the cape is cleaned up. Moving on to the head. So this may prove to be a little tricky as he does have that helmet portion there. You may have to get a Q-tip or a small brush out, but you may be able to get it with just the rag alone. So just make sure and scrub every little part there. And as you can see, that dirt and grime just really starts to fall off with no problem at all. There's no need to throw the figures away because you think they're ruined, because they definitely are not. So the Darth Vader head really cleaned up nicely. This was really dirty. It had a lot of filth underneath of the flares there, and the neck was very dirty as well. The eyes were completely covered, and it cleaned up very nicely. Moving on to the body, which is definitely the dirtiest part of this figure. So with the head removed, it may be a bit easier because you're not worrying about banding anything. The undercoat definitely is something that doesn't need to be worrying about bent because it can easily be put back in place. As you can see, it falls down very simply, very nicely, but you'd make sure and get all up underneath of the stuff there. Make sure and get all up underneath the arms. Treat it like you're washing yourself, I guess. All of the nooks and crannies, as you will. So just give it a good wash down. If you need to redip your rag, make sure and switch the part that you're using so you're not rubbing dirty portions all over an already clean figure. And there we have it, 2 extremely clean figures that are ready to even be put in front of a camera. So that's all you have to do to clean up dirty figures. Don't throw them away. I mean, if you want to, donate them, obviously clean them up before you donate them, but don't donate them. Clean them up and they're ready to go again. As you can see, all the dirt and grime is gone. Cape underneath is clean. All the little nooks and crannies are clean, and they look absolutely fantastic. Alright, so for this last part, again, this is totally up to you, but I'm going to be adding a little bit of color to some of these hoses and pipes here. Just a little accent to make it look a little bit more realistic, because I use this more outside of the freezing chamber for diorama purposes than I do anything. So what you're going to want to do is just take a little bit of alcohol and just rub that down. Just get anywhere that you're going to want to be painting. Just so you get any kind of thumbprints, dirt, grime, anything like this. This doesn't have any paint on it, so you're going to not worry about getting any paint off of it with the alcohol. It's just going to be cleaning excess dirt and grime off from handling, because once again, this thing does get handled quite a lot for diorama purposes. So as always, I really, really love these painter's pens. They are absolutely tremendous, and I'm going to be using these select colors here, red, gold, and green, just because that's what I have on hand, and I think the hoses will look really, really good in those specific colors. So let's go ahead and give them a shake. So if it helps, remove that bottom there, and then you're just going to want to start with whichever hose you want, whichever color you want. These are the ones that I'm using, so it's just going to add a little bit of extra oomph to the piece itself. Whereas it's just flat gray, it's going to look a little better. Make sure you don't get it on the part that's going to be a different color, because you don't want to cross colors. Make sure you get around those edges. You don't really have to get all the way around the solids there, because that'll give it a little bit of illusion of being kind of worn out, I guess, from age. And maybe even after you're done, you can add a little bit of black wash to it as well. Alright, so there is the red wire all traced out, as you can see. Just kind of follow it all the way around. There's a little bit of tricky spots right down there where I may have bled over just a little bit too much, but that's okay. You can obviously fix that with cutting in. Alright, so I went ahead and made both of those wires red coming out of this particular box here, so it may resemble a power wire. So what I'm going to do now is maybe paint this one green, and then that'll finish up this side here. So same thing, you're just going to want to take that pen and just go down that particular wire that you're painting. So it just brings out that tone there. And as you can see, you're cutting into the mistakes that you made with the red, painting over with the green. Alright, so there is the green wire all painted up. As you can see, it looks absolutely tremendous. It looks a lot better than I actually thought it was going to look. So it's a little shiny right now because it's still just a little wet, so you can move it around or whatever. But then we're going to go ahead and finish up with this last one with a gold piece. Alright, so what you're going to want to do here, being this is an extra fine gold, and this gold does tend to run, you're going to just want to tap that just a little bit and move around whatever you lay down, just very gently. These golds do tend to run quite a bit. Bam, and there we have it. Simple things that you can do at home with your action figures that either make them better, fix them, clean them up, or just paint little odds and ends to make them look just a little bit better. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this how-to video. Make sure and smash the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. It really helps. Make sure and check out all the links in the description for all of my social media accounts. And as always, may the force be with you.